So for the second part of this presentation on Joel that was done in January 4, 2014, I would like to point out a couple of things to think about when you're studying Joel and you're trying to avoid getting into controversy, but you want to focus on truth and current truth. First off, in Joel 1 verse 13, it says something that's serious when you think about it. Gird yourselves and lament, ye priests. Howl, ye ministers of the altar. Come lie all night in sackcloth. Come lie all night in sackcloth, ye ministers of my God. For the meat offering and the drink offering is withholden from the house of your God. So it's dark. It's midnight. And the current studies that a lot of people are focusing on have to do with what is the time of midnight and the time of midnight cry. And here it's a time of great darkness in the night, and the ministers are howling. So there's a pattern here. There's things to study that apply to our day. Then you look at Joel 2, the day of the Lord comes in verse 2, a day of darkness and of gloominess, a day of clouds and of thick darkness. And it talks about an army invading, and it's darkness. Now that darkness certainly we understood could be caused by, other events that are military or events of nature that are catastrophic, but it's a time of darkness, okay? And it describes some very serious things in the book of Joel, chapter 2. When you go to chapter 3, it's clearly talking about Armageddon. So you can see why these 3 chapters are very important to study. So remember that, regardless of whether you're studying the older presentations I did, or if God leads me to do a longer current presentation, either way, just remember that. Remember that when you're studying Joel, and as God leads you to understand this. And then we want to talk about the solemn assembly in verse 14 of chapter 2. Sanctify ye a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the singers, gather the elders and all the inhabitants of the land into the house of the Lord your God, and cry unto the Lord in a time of darkness, a time of midnight. Joel 2:15. Blow the trumpet in Zion, and sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly. Let's not forget what the solemn assembly says. When you really study the Bible, it's not about me pointing my finger at other people. It's about what God's revealing in my own heart. And the Bible is clear that we're called to confess our sins, not point out other people's sins, our sins, our areas of recovery. We're called to pray one for another. It says that very clearly in the New Testament. We're called to love one another. These things are part of the solemn assembly. So I just want to put that out, and you can go to studying and listening to the second presentation, which is 55 minutes total. And let's stay focused on what God really wants us to with this. And notice that there's patterns in this presentation. Imperfect? Yes. Notice the patterns. Study for yourself. Thank you.